Did we make a mistake coming back to America after 13 years abroad? Hello and welcome to our Retire Early lifestyle in the USA. We're sure some people are wondering how we're getting along in the US. Several of our viewers even think we're going to end up leaving and moving back to Mexico or Europe. You see, that's what people don't understand. With the intentional lifestyle, you're in charge and you make it happen. You don't wait for someone else or institutions to make it happen for you. We have already planned out how we're going to live in America. When we make plans, we work at sticking to them as closely as possible so as to make our plans become a reality.
And this is something that I think people struggle with because from an experiential point of view, if you're not yet living the retire early lifestyle in the present moment and living intentionally, it's hard to visualize, because most people, when you start talking to them about living intentionally, or if you say anything at all about living on less, it's just all of a sudden the picture becomes one of lack and not doing anything. My resume is that we've lived the retire early lifestyle for 3.5 decades.
Living intentionally works like this. You decide how your life is going to be and you stay on that course. It's like a sailor being out in the middle of the vast, deep ocean. He knows exactly where he's going because he has a compass to keep him on course. Now, there might be a storm or his compass might quit working, but the captain of the ship navigates that ship safely to where he or she wants to go in life, even through the storms. So no matter how bad the storms might be, we stay on course. That's the intentional life. It's the opposite of follow the fads, do things on a whim, keep up with the Joneses, etc. We've never followed the crowd. We've always done our own thing on our own terms, on our own timeline. We intentionally moved back to America because, in our humble opinion, life is not better in another country, and many of our viewers that have been abroad feel the same way and have come back to America. We don't let outside rogue incidents or storms dictate where we live or how we live or what we do, and neither should you. One thing we've noticed is if you live through the headlines, meaning basing your life on headlines, you're not going to get very far, and you're most likely going to make rash decisions that are inappropriate for yourself and family. One such rash decision would be to move lock, stock, and barrel clear across the world to an unfamiliar land where you can't speak the language and where you need help doing everything, like getting a visa, paying the taxi driver, getting gouged in gringo or foreigner rents, and having to watch your back because of fear of getting robbed or home invaded, and constantly fighting the battle of dirty water. I don't know if you saw the video we made when we were still in Mexico about the 3 things we would never do again. Well, number 1 was we'll never move anywhere again where the water is filthy. Unfortunately, living in an endemic area can set your health back, and you won't even know it's parasites, okay? Life might hit you a curveball, but you stay on course. So because we plan to come back to America, and this decision was not on a whim, but actually intentional, we've been planning it for a while now. We believe we're right where we're supposed to be. The intentional lifestyle doesn't just go through life on a whim or on the fads of life. Oh, I want to move to so-and-so, everyone's doing it. You have to know what you want, and we are good at knowing what we want and what we need and why we need it. And so because of that, we already know that America is the best place for us to get back to the land and do everything we want and need to do.
When people still have commitments, they're going to have a lot higher transportation and perhaps housing costs than when you're living more intentionally. And when you're living more intentionally, you can do things like go to the store once a week. Now, we do that here In Mexico, we get in the car once or twice a week, and we don't have to live next to an employer or any certain city. And that's all part of the living intentional that I don't really need to go into detail, that perhaps a lot of people aren't able to visualize. But once you start thinking about it and putting it on paper and asking yourself, well, if I wasn't believing, because that's what it is, it's a belief. If I wasn't believing into this delayed life plan, and I was able to, how would I put a plan in motion that would allow me to live more intentionally in the here and now? And whether you scale back your work hours and you perhaps start a side gig, not side hustle, to talk about that in a different video, but if you start your own activity with the intention of slowly morphing out of your hourly wage and into a variety of different activities that add a financial benefit to your existence, and then you enjoy yourself at the same time. So that becomes the goal in order to be able to live your retire early lifestyle in the here and now. And however you achieve that is particular to your skills and your abilities and your location and your desires and what you enjoy and that kind of thing.
We hope you will come along with us through this journey. We may even start a new YouTube channel because we want to share some of our do-it-yourself projects and homesteading ideas with you. What we share with our viewers, we actually do. So like when we tell you that it would be a good idea to invest in a fixer-upper or invest in Bitcoin or gold or start growing your own food, these kinds of statements, they don't just come out of a hat. We have always shared with our viewers things that we have actually done, are doing, and or will be doing. So when you know how to live, it doesn't matter where you are. You can live in Timbuktu if you know how to survive and thrive. Having said all that, you don't want to be living on a deserted island where there are no people, or in a barren desert where there is no flora and fauna, but you know what we mean.
People have said to us in the past, well, at least you get to move and live over there. I can't do that. I'm stuck over here. Well, that's because we planned it that way. We set out to intentionally, that's what the word intentional means, is that you make a decision and you make a commitment. You analyze it, you put it down on paper, you make estimates, and you make plans, and you slowly work towards your plans.
So here we are back in America, living out our intentional lifestyle and doing what we do best, keeping our retire early lifestyle regardless of outside circumstances. It is a gift from God. It just takes the desire to make it happen and then doing it. You can't be lazy if you want to live well. You have to know or be willing to learn how to do some things to create comforts out of nothing, or out of something that most people wouldn't even consider doing. Taking responsibility for our lives, taking control of how we want to live and enjoy the good life. That's what it's all about. It doesn't take keeping up with the Joneses. It doesn't take going into debt. It doesn't take millions of dollars. And it doesn't take following the crowds to the next best, greatest country to live. 40% of Americans say they don't have money invested or saved up for their retirement and will be relying on Social Security only. You can make that work in America, but you can't do things the way most people do them, like go into debt to buy a home or buy brand new cars just to keep up with your neighbors. We're exposing the retirement con for what it is. It's a con. What's happening to people's 401ks? A lot of older folks are dipping into their 401ks because they're in debt and are not in control of their expenses. Relying on institutions is turning out to be not what it had been hoped for many people. And many of these same folks are also finding that going abroad is not the panacea it is made out to be for their financial problems and unhappiness. It appears that because a lot of people are having financial and life difficulties in America, they don't understand why people would leave the so-called cheap life abroad and come back to America. To them, it doesn't make sense. But if they knew what we know about both sides of the coin, the life abroad and the home life, they'd get it. Someone said, go where you're treated best. That is to say, head for greener pastures, but is the grass really greener on the other side as a foreigner in a foreign land? Believe us, being the foreigner in a foreign land is not where you will be treated best when SHTF comes. Consider the sources you are listening to. What side of the smoke and mirrors are they really on in their personal life? It does matter. This day and age, just being abroad is not necessarily a good rule of thumb. There's way more than meets the eye. We're going to do whatever it takes to live an abundant, comfortable, frugal life with what we have by simply making it happen and doing it where we want and how we want. We're here intentionally and we know what to expect. We're in this together. We understand each other. We speak the same language. To those viewers who said we'll move back abroad after the honeymoon period is up, there's no honeymoon for us. We're from here already. So we already know what to expect in America. And we're not saying we'll never go abroad again, but it will be for a vacation or extended vacation, but not to live anywhere permanently. America is our home.
And here we are, we're at the beach. This is free, and you know how many people wish they could be sitting at the beach right now? You know, and it's free, which means I can come here and do it anytime I want. And so we used to go to the matinee because if we went on the weekend, it was $10. And so to watch a movie, we would go on Tuesday for $2.50. So we still were able to watch we were still able to go to the movie theater. And the benefit was that it wasn't crowded, remember? There wasn't really that many people on a Tuesday morning, and so we paid a lot less for it, but we still got what we wanted, and we got it for $2.50 instead of having to, you know, wait for the weekend when everybody else was going and have to pay the $10, which back then was, you know, the equivalent of whatever the movie theaters cost now. And so that's a perfect example of how here you are doing things intentionally and on reduced money, but yet you're still getting the benefit that, you know, people on a delayed life plan are on, not realizing that they're just paying more for it.
By the way, you do know that the honeymoon period is based on feelings, right? The difference between intentional living and living by one's feelings is to stay focused on who you are and what your purpose in life is. Don't veer off, and by all means, do not let your emotions dictate your life for you. Until next video, take care and bye-bye.